Today I'm going to show some slabs that were autographed by Stan the Man Lee. Excelsior. Hello Comic Army, my name is Chris the Comic Vet. Hope this video finds you safe and well. Welcome back to Chapter 4 of Slabs. This particular week, like I said off the top, I'm going to show you my signed Stan Lee slabs. I'm very proud of these. I do own 6, my entire collection. So let's waste no time and get right into it. The first book I'm going to show is a book that I did have signed in person way back in 2014 at Fan Expo Canada. Now this is arguably one of the best Spider-Man stories that Stan Lee ever wrote. It's The Amazing Spider-Man issue 33 and a 4.5 with this classic cover. So the final chapter, which is also known for having a Dr. Kurt Connors appearance, is one of the best stories that most fans say Stan Lee ever wrote. The artwork is also really well done. Steve Ditko, in my opinion, did a great job with this particular issue, with Spider-Man finding out his inner strength in a moment of weakness, and I really enjoy it. And as you can see, Stan signed it in black right across there. Not a bad signing spot, because Stan Lee's been known to pick some pretty bad signing spots. With this one, not too bad. Okay, the next one I'm going to show is an eBay purchase. I can't remember quite when I picked it up, well over 10 years ago. And I can remember spending less than $200 US on this book. And that's kind of mind-blowing. Fast forward to where we are now with the Stan Lee book, and it being The Amazing Spider-Man issue 11. But this is it. This is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 11 in a 4.0 signed by Stan Lee. Now this book has a notation for being the second appearance of Dr. Octopus, the first appearance and death of Bennett Brandt. And again, like I said, this was an eBay purchase. Now, a number of years ago, I decided to work on the Amazing Spider-Man set from issue 1 all the way to issue 50. I do not recommend that anyone does that. It is the definition of insanity. Don't do it. Your bank account will thank you. However, I was picking off low-grade ASMs for cheap, and when I saw a signed Stan Lee issue 11 and a 4.0 for, like I said, around 200 US or probably less, it was a little bit of a no-brainer. It was one of those early listings, so the early bird gets the worm. And as you can see, Stan signed it in a really nice spot here, in between Doc Ock and Spider-Man. So yeah, with all the busyness going on this cover, I felt like this was actually a real nice signing area as well. Okay, before we get to the third one, I'm going to ask you to make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed and get a comment ready. Let me know, what is the prized Stan Lee item in your collection? And which one of these do you think is the best in my collection? Let's carry on. Now this one has an interesting story. This is Strange Tales issue 138 and a 6.5. Now this particular issue was a mystery box giveaway. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh my goodness, Chris, you hit a Stan Lee signed grand prize out of a mystery box? No, quite different. Before Stan Lee passed away, Torpedo Comics was doing a Stan Lee signed mystery box. So this is probably 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. And it was just $250 for a mystery box. And every mystery box was guaranteed a signed Stan Lee slab. So this is one of the better books that came out of that mystery box setup. But there was a grand prize of like an early ASM book that was signed, and a Stan Lee signed book that also had like a McFarlane autograph on it as well. But I was quite happy to get Strange Tales. So like I said, out of a mystery box that featured Stan Lee signed books, I was all over that. So it's Strange Tales issue 138, famous for the first appearance of Eternity. Dorman, I always mispronounce this character's name, but Dormammu. Dormammu? Baron Mordor and Tony Stark also have an appearance. This is a Doctor Strange and Nick Fury book. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko wrote the stories. John Severin and Steve Ditko did the art. And Jack Kirby did the layouts. So as you can see, Hydra is shooting at Nick Fury there. Stan signed it in a pretty good spot. Again, could have been a lot worse. He probably could have signed over here, but it was a good signing spot here. Decent signature as well. And he signed this way back 2015. So happy to have this. And thank you, Torpedo Comics, for just giving away Stan Lee autographs for cheap. The next book I'm going to show is the last Stan Lee book that I have acquired. This is an oversized book. I picked it up just a couple years ago at a Comic-Con that was just outside Toronto in Mississauga, Ontario. It's one of the suburb cities of Toronto. And this con had a few comic book dealers. It was more of a toy con than anything. And as I was flipping through someone's slabs that they had for sale, I saw a Stan Lee book that was signed. This is America's Best TV Comics. It has no number, but it's from 1967. Basically, it's a showcase of the Saturday morning cartoons that was going to be coming on ABC for that particular fall. And as you can see, it was headlined by the Fantastic Four. It also had Spider-Man down here. And Stan Lee signed it right here over Casper the Friendly Ghost. Not a bad signing spot. However, if you're a fan of Casper the Friendly Ghost, I got bad news. Stan Lee ruined Casper. But yeah, I was really surprised to see this because the price point was just $250 Canadian. And let me tell you, I didn't spend $250. I knocked that bad boy down. So I think I spent about $200 on this book after Stan Lee had already passed away for this comic book. Now, again, I don't know anything about this comic. It was a revelation to me that it even existed when I found this book. But America's Best Comics from ABC. So 6 fabulous film features from ABC's Best Comics. Casper the Friendly Ghost, Amazing Spider-Man, The Fantastic Four, King Kong, George of the Jungle, and Journey to the Center of the Earth. And, yeah, another Stan Lee autograph. Really happy to have this one. And like I said, it's the last one that I've ever picked up. The next book I'm going to show is my birthday book. Now, if you don't know what a birthday book is, basically it's the month and the year that you were born, and people usually go out and pick up their favorite series or some of their favorite characters and pick up those particular issues just because it usually means something to them. Mine is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 136 from September 1974 in an 8.5. So here you can see Peter and Norman having an argument in the street, and then Spider-Man and the Green Goblin fighting above them. Yeah, I was very happy to get this. Now, this is the book that I had signed in person myself at Fan Expo after I had Jerry Conway sign it just a year earlier. So if you look across the trade dress, Jerry Conway signed right here, and then Stan Lee signed pretty large down here between Mr. Parker and Mr. Osborn. So yeah, I did have hopes of getting John Romita Sr. on this, but unfortunately, he never really did a signing with CGC, and he never made an appearance in and around Ontario before he passed away just recently. So I'm happy to have the two writers, or I should say the writer and the creator, involved with this particular book. It does say first Harry Osborn as the new Green Goblin. Did I say Norman Osborn? I'm sorry, yeah, that's Harry. And so it's a Jerry Conway story, John Romita cover, Ross Andrew, Frank Giacola, and Dave Hunt do the interior artwork. Very happy to have my birthday book signed by Conway and Stan Lee in an 8.5. Last, but certainly not least, of the 6 Stan Lee books that are signed that I'm going to show is the crown jewel in my collection. It is by far the most valuable comic book that I own, and it's also by far the most proud comic book that I own. I will never let this book go. But it is The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1 in a 2.0. I was fortunate enough to have Stan Lee sign this at Fan Expo Canada, which takes place in late August in Toronto, Ontario, for his final appearance in Canada before he passed away. This book was signed in 2016, and as you can see, he signed a rather large autograph right here, right through the middle. With the artwork that's on here, other than I would have had Stan signed through the trade dress, there's not that much good signing area. Maybe through the flames of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch right there, but Stan signed right there across Peter as he's trapped inside the Baxter building. So yeah, again, the crown jewel piece in my collection. It is the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson and the Chameleon, the first Fantastic Four crossover, the origin of Spider-Man is retold. An interesting piece of information that CGC does not note on here is that this is the second appearance of the Amazing Spider-Man. His first appearance, as everyone knows, is Amazing Fantasy 15. This is his second appearance. It's strange that they don't list it here. I do believe CBCS does list the fact that it is the second appearance of Spider-Man. But again, Stan Lee's story, Steve Ditko, cover and art. This is the first cover artwork that Steve Ditko ever did for Spider-Man, as Jack Kirby did Amazing Fantasy 15. But yes, The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1 in a 2.0, signed by Stan Lee, and off-white to white pages. There you go, Comic Army. Those are my 6 signed Stan Lee slabs. Again, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Consider joining the Comic Army by joining the channel membership. There are now 2 tiers for you to select from. And most importantly, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Is what one stands out to you? And more importantly, which signed Stan Lee books do you own that you're most proud of? I'm looking forward to seeing those comments. I try to respond to every comment that gets left on my channel. So we see you again. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.